Look how small this gallon of milk is in my massive hand.
Hello readers, perusers, and bibliophiles of all kinds. I'm Cheddar Allen Pope.
And as always, I'm Stone Cold Jane Austen.
Welcome to today's holiday special of PowerLines.
In fact, it's the last special of PowerLines.
This episode, we're going to prepare you for everything coming in the new year,
as well as receiving an intelligence report that St. Nick himself is in the library at this moment. And we have a bit of a history with St. Nick, don't we?
Still a sack one
And I got his hat when he broke into my house.
here. With these artifacts combined, I think we can coax him into coming out.
And
Ask him a few questions.
See, he'll never see me coming, because I'm a nondescript holiday snow golem.
I'm posing as building security.
Yeah.
Also, we're doing another call where we're covering
The Lost Apothecary. So apparently you had a good time at the Christmas party, huh?
Yeah, I didn't see you there.
Yeah. I didn't get an invitation.
I'm sure it's, lost in the mail or...
No, I checked with the USPS. It's just, so maybe, yeah, it's I'm sure the rumor.
Sure, they maybe it didn't get a stamp, or...
I mean, I don't know why they would forget me. I'm one half of the dynamic duo. How could I have...
1/3.
1/3? Who am I a third? Who am I splitting that third with? He better not have gotten me an invite to the holiday party.
He was over in the corner chatting it up with... And now I kick it over to Janelle with Palm Periodicals.
All right, coming up to the Palm Harbor Library in 2023, we have to look forward to an after-hours affair, and that's going to be happening on the first Friday of every month, and each Friday that we do this on is going to have a brand new event. So we're either going to do, like in January, we have Vintage Game Night. That one is all ages, and also that one does have registration, I believe. So some of the events will be only adults, some will be all ages, some will require registration, and some will not. Some will have wine, and some will have not. But we will also be doing different events outside, lots of things to look forward to with that, so certainly sign up for the newsletter to see what's going on with each month. We also do have our Artful Evening coming on January 27th at 7 p.m. This event is 21 plus and is $20 prior to the event, $25 at the door. All the money does go towards helping the Palm Harbor Library, and with that cost, you do get a silent auction, 10 artists exhibit. They will be demonstrating, they will be selling their art as well. Our featured artist is Nathan Hines, which you can also see his video on our Palm Harbor Library YouTube channel. And there will also be 7 art-themed cocktails. There'll be a live jazz band, plenty of fun, and all the money does go towards the library, which we are in unincorporated Palm Harbor. So I do want to stress that we definitely rely on more events and personal funding from our wonderful patrons that we have. So any donations really do help to keep us going since we get less from the government. So thank you so much. Come hang with us all year. We have Christmas in July. We have spooky things going on in October. We'll see you there, and sign up for our newsletter.
Here we are, we caught our first one. Gonna give a little interrogation to figure out what's going on, yeah?
And we'll be doing the classic good cop, bad cop routine, as dictated by the mini wooden slugger and the loofah.
Go exfoliate your paws and figure it out.
And I'm just gonna hit you really hard until you give us the answer.
Alright,
So
let's
anyway,
get started.
Where is the head honcho in red?
Do you mean Gene?
We had a tip that he was here.
No, you're not good cop right now. Yeah, give me that.
So we just want to know a little bit.
You're not doing it right. You're supposed to bad cop now.
I'm bad cop?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need some answers.
Oh, no, you got the loofah. Here.
Well, okay. Oh, God. I need some answers.
No, that's too nice.
What do you mean? How is that too nice? I'm hitting my hand in the hat. It makes a point.
Like this.
I can't hit this. I don't want to break the equipment. These people have been very nice to us.
No, we have to be... No, see, look, there.
Okay,
Right.
so now I can hit the thing.
Yes.
No, but now
Do
I'm
it.
the good cop now. Why would I hit
No, you're the bad cop.
I'm the
It's
bad-
funny.
It's fun here.
Look,
We're not here about fun. She left the. I blame
close
you.
the door. I blame you.
I blame you. Rock, paper, scissors, take the blame.
Rock, paper, scissors, I win.
No, you don't. That's not how this works.
So, got a real nice hat there.
Yeah, it lets us know that you're in league with old Saint Nick.
So,
And you know where he's hiding?
wouldn't happen to, let us know who gave it to you.
Yeah, and if you don't cooperate, I got a happy little tree for you right here.
Hey, he's not real.
What do you mean Santa's not real?
He's real, but Bob Ross is cardboard.
We have to tell you once again, Bob the Fast Talking Dolphin outwitted us and made it onto the show this month. We apologize, officially, formally, contractually. And we do have some good news though. He will no longer ever be on the show. He was executed for his crimes.
Which is funny because he's a dolphin.
Yeah. Was he? Or was he actually a shark?
If I start believing he was a shark, this whole show is a lie and I can't.
Yeah. They sent us his mortal remains, just so that we could be sure. Apparently his final wish was to have his remains put onto a tuna fish assembly line because his brother owned like 0.17 shares of stock in a certain tuna fish company. He wanted to make him $1, so here he is.
We'll miss you, Bob. Do you hear that? That's Bob's heart and soul just.
Do we have a sponsor for this bit this time?
This segment is brought to you by Cheddar's Cheesy Minis. Painting miniatures is a passion since 2019. Commissions now open. DM at Ched Cheese Minis on Instagram for details. So you're our lucky number 3. And I think we have an idea of how to get this done this time.
Well, I'm not gonna give up nothing. You have to have something really good for me to say anything, because I have my lips sealed.
Oh, one of a kind, huh?
Something
Yeah.
good. Like the remains of one Mr. Bob the Fast Talking Dolphin, as the label is facing.
That's Bob the Fast Talking Dolphin Tuna?
What's left of him?
After his brother got done with him.
No, I won't. But
It could all be yours if you just let us know where the head honcho is. Not Gene. We know where Gene is. We don't need to know where Gene is. We need to know where
Sandy Claus is.
the big man, the holiday chucklemeister.
is it expired?
It's Bob the Fast Talking Dolphin.
He expired in the penitentiary.
Well,
We have adopted his accent.
that we have.
So what would be Fritz Frost? Oh yeah, we know you're gonna do this.
It does sound pretty juicy. Well, will you promise not to tell anybody I told you?
Oh, our lips are sealed.
Alright, well, if everybody's sealed, he's in the basement.
Let's get him.
The one place we never checked.
I guess we know where to go now.
Yeah. Thanks. Where'd she go? Why does this keep happening? we're gonna start off a little nicer this time with
I'm not even gonna talk over you.
Oh, thanks. That's very nice of you.
Yeah, it's my holiday gift to you.
Did you guys know that?
Enjoy it.
Did you know that nutmeg is actually a hallucinogen if ingested in large enough quantities? Which probably explains the craziness of the holiday season, if I'm being honest.
You know, if they don't take all the tissue, your tonsils can grow back.
What? This weird fact brought to you by Gaither, Bling. We've got everything. Browse a varied and eclectic selection of outdoor gear at gbladebling.biz. Visit our socials and tell them PalmLines sent you with code PALM, that's PALM, for 10% off anything in stock. Orders of over $100 shipped free. International customer? Contact us to help you. So, we did ask you...
Whoa. Do I need to call my friends again in the dark suits and have them come pick you all up?
No, sir.
No, yeah, that was a good point. All right. You know what? That last one was a bit of a hit and miss. You try it
All
next
right,
time.
give it to me.
All right, there you go.
So, I got a few questions about the whereabouts of someone important.
No.
Yes.
No. I refuse to give you any of that information.
Refuse, huh?
I protect him at all costs.
Do you even know who you're protecting?
Gee.
What he's done? No.
Gee,
Talking
no,
about-
no, we
talking
know
about
where
Santa Claus.
Yeah, we know.
Santa Claus?
Yeah.
Oh, he's in the palm room.
Let's go. Come on. You'll never find him. Ow! Ow! What are you doing? That's my hand.
No, it's not.
I was the mole the whole time.
We're gonna put some bait here. No one can resist a good quality chocolate milk found at your local supermarket.
You won't even see it coming.
From young author Isaac Paget comes a gripping story of Jack, a young thief whose only goal is to prove his love. Forces at work beyond his sight have other plans, though, and he is thrust into a race against demons to get his hand on a weapon that can, no, will, change history forever. Who can he trust when those closest to him have a knack for betrayal? Jack must push through and beat his enemies, all while trying to protect those he loves. Get your copy now on Amazon Kindle. From author Victor V. Verbicus III, a high fantasy adventure quest series, The Epics of Dijredel. Immerse yourself in a tormented king and follow Dijon, king of Dijredel. You'll meet him halfway through his personal journey, burdened with knowing his own destiny and driven by a desire to be a successful king. He must face his fears and choose his kingdom's longevity or his life. You may foresee the ending of some tales, but destiny still leaves room for surprise. Get your copy, paperback, hardcover, or Amazon Kindle. Thank you all for listening, and thank you all for competing in our SpeedScroll segment.
Which, as always, went by faster than I thought it would.
Indeed, and you actually listened to those while they occurred.
Yes, I did, because I wanted to see just how fast people could actually go, and I think everyone competed very well. Everyone hit the nail on the head with the assignment.
And we have some hard numbers to back that up as we go over our winners.
Hard, but not too extravagant numbers due to our very simple rating system based on how long, between the averages of how long it took, any missed words. Again, pronunciation was critical. Enunciation was critical.
Punctuation was optional.
Which, we say optional, it was more punctuation, just pretend it doesn't exist. Because,
So, should we start in July?
of course, that's where we always started anyways. July was, again, they were from the Tales of Dijredel.
Yes.
Yeah. Not is it the Tales of Dijredel?
That was the series, The Epics of Dijredel.
The Epics.
And it's Tormented King.
The segments came from the Tormented King in the series of the Epics of Dijredel, by Victor Verbicus III. So the first one, it was between Miss Fritz Frost and Miss Winona. Winona took it running. She finished, I think it was 9 seconds under the average. Right, under the average? Yeah. 9 seconds under the average, which we awarded a point for that. She could have gotten 2 points, but because it was only 9 seconds, so you only get instead of 10. I did it multiple. I did a stopwatch multiple times. All of these, I will say for all of the ones, I closed my eyes just to hear the words to make sure I can pick them out, which was the important part. And while she did very good, we were mostly going on a basis of starting on 0 points and going up and down from there. And surprisingly, there wasn't a lot of up or down too much. There was mostly you either stayed about the same, you maybe subtracted a point, or maybe added a point. But between the two for July, I think Miss Winona took it.
Alright. And August.
I think the segment for August was, like you said, it was Thieves Race, and I think it was a segment about disbelieving seeing someone where they were because they saw them going somewhere else.
Read the book to find out why it was such a surprise.
Please. Nona and Carol. And this won't make it in probably, but Carol absolutely nailed the power lines, but she didn't quite have the speed to match up to Miss Winona.
I recall her enunciation being very good.
Yes, it was very good. That was definitely worth a point at the very least. However, coming in under 10 seconds of the average time, it would basically negate it a lot, and there wasn't coming in slower is a big penalty because the speed is the game.
You can enunciate, but at the loss of potential 2 points.
Yep, with the loss of that time, but however, she did not need to substitute any words, and she was very clear. Most of our contestants were absolutely extremely clear with what they were saying, and there's only 1 or 2 times where they weren't, and that is reflected in the scores. So far we're sitting at Winona with 2 points. So now we're at September, which was actually very close.
We had 4 SpeedScroll entries and 4 PowerLines entries.
Entry 1 was Miss Winona, with entry 2 being Fritz Frost. Entry 3 had one Miss Amber Possum. Yes, Isaac is entry number 4. Yes, Isaac is entry number 4. Between the 4 of them, they all enunciated pretty good, which again, perfect. That's great.
There were some the times on those though are kind of.
Yes.
I'm just looking at and I know I didn't get the seconds correct exactly on those, but
there was one of the chapters where we entered the segment and then one of them started in the middle of that without its own chapters. That was a little, but looking at it, we have the entrance for entry number 1 starts at 5 minutes, and entry 2 starts at 5:28. Give or take a second for the transition time.
But then 2 to 3.
But then 2 to 3 was 5:28 to 6:08.
That's 40 seconds.
Followed by 6:08 to 6:40, which is 32. Which is 32 seconds.
And there were still a few seconds left on entry 3.
Yes. So these again, we appreciated
It was a long segment, to be fair.
Yes, it was very long. It was because we wanted to try something a little further. Because I think the next time, if I am checking my,
It was like 1 paragraph or something.
yes, next time it was also between like August. August was a shorter one, definitely compared to September. Getting all these times written down, trying to make sure they were good. Isaac was the closest. He was very close, at least within a second of Winona. However, there were certain times where he would take pauses between the sentences, which we did state it's optional. However, with it being optional, having another contestant blow through every single period but still be able to be heard is very, it's good. Which I think, for that one, it was very close, but Winona had 2 points versus Isaac's 1, which is actually, to be fair, that's the closest it's been.
Yes.
The reason we'll go over power lines later when I actually listen to the performances and actually hear them for the first time, because I didn't want to listen to them at the time because I wanted to judge them fresh.
And also so you could win your bet.
And I could win my bet, which I'm still going to win, but I feel like Winona won again. She has been clobbering these.
Absolutely.
Which actually makes October's speed scroll a bit of a surprise.
I was going to say, October, they finally started using we finally had our art.
Yes, and the art we kind of posed for as being there, and then I decided to shave for the last episode.
And we had 5 entries.
We did have 5 entries on that, which is insane. And I looked at Matt and I said, Matt, why? But I meant it in a good way, like, oh my god, it's so
It's because we kept picking up people in the back room.
Right, we would just ask people, and we were more kind of surprised because we would ask people, and a lot of times we get no's. That time we got 5 yeses. Which the 5 entrances for that were, again, Fritz Frost, Miss Marissa, Chipmunk, entry 4, Miss Jacqueline, which should prove that we're not biased at all. And entry number 5, Mr. Jim C, who I believe sadly was only a one-off, but he helped us. As with everyone, any help you give us, we appreciate 1,000%. Now this one was interesting for me, because so far it's been a Winona sweep all the way down. However, I think Miss Marissa really took it because she just grabbed on and, much like Winona did, just ran with it.
She was the one most worried about participating too.
Right, she was. She was very nervous, and honestly, I understand why. She had no reason to be.
I mean, because by that point, Miss Jacqueline, she's known my antics for a while now. Mr. Jim was just, he was just down for whatever.
Yeah.
Fritz Frost, of course, had done this multiple times.
I will say appreciation shout out to everyone that works in the back room.
Yes.
They are such great workers, and we appreciated every one of them immensely.
But yeah, she just came on there and just plowed through.
Which I believe my video is still playing. Oops, forgot to pause it. Once again, it's not too much of a runway. She got 2 points because she finished within like 10 seconds. Like if we look at the times.
I was gonna say I'm seeing a 13, I'm seeing a 15, I'm seeing a 19, and then I'm seeing a 17.
Right, and a lot of these ones were fast by nature of being a faster segment. But because there were 5 of them, we had to divide the average by 5, and so that brought that down. But everyone got through it like instantly fast. But for once, Miss Winona is knocked off her throne as Miss Marissa takes this stand. That being said, we have one more month.
And that would be November, which is the final month that we ran contests.
For this one, we only had 2 entries once again. As to be fair, this time we focused on the pie eating contest.
Yes, that was our...
Which everyone was a winner.
Eventually.
And this one was once again Winona and Miss Fritz. Winona and Miss Fritz
Frost.
It's hard to say for me. Winona and Fritz Frost. But once again, Winona, she's a veteran at this point. She had 3 in a row, followed by 1 miss, and then she just came back swinging on this one. I think that brings her total up to like 7. Which does mean that, under at least my calculations, I think she's the winner of as far as SpeedScroll.
Came in with a 3-point. They'd absolutely sweep the overall, but
Right.
Since we're going with consistency here, I think we are going to award it to Winona.
Yes, and this is... We tried very hard to get the same people on the show every time. However,
Schedules
just don't work out, and also we never told them like what the prize was. I would like to say a big thank you to all of our speed scrollers. Just again, thank you for taking the time out of your schedules to read with us and to help this small little show get its feet off, but also be able to get more awareness out to the library. And you know, if you want to enjoy a book, you don't have to speed read it. You can just sit down and take a look through and take it at your own pace. Not everyone can be a Miss Winona or a Miss Marissa, or you can just be yourself.
And now we have PowerLines.
The emotional storytelling that we all wish we could have.
So this is your first time hearing them all.
Yes, it is.
As everyone knows, with PowerLines, we picked an emotion or a prompt, and we asked our people to read to it and try to evoke that same emotion in us. We had a lot of people do fairly well, actually, and bearing with us and bearing with our direction.
Most of our segments had 2, 3 to 5, I think, about. Again, October was the big one.
Right, and we could not exactly put numbers to this one. This is all subjective and all subjective to us. So if you disagree with us, let us know in the comments.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, my badge's right here. I was like, where's my badge?
So let's go ahead and start with July. The theme was Wonder and Awe.
Wonder and Awe.
And we used Thieves' Race by Isaac Paget as the book. So we'll go ahead and play what we felt was the winning segment.
Ether could easily see that the path was brand new. There were few signs that anyone had done anything more than blaze the trail. It was carefully cut, a twisting and winding path that was never too steep while still easy to follow. We reached the bottom. She stopped and drank it all in. The mist from the falling water hitting the rocks rose into shy rainbows, cascading and filling the air all around us. It was impossible to be there and not get wet, but neither of us paid it any attention. We were so lost in the colors, dancing and spinning through the air. Jack, this is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. Like nothing I could imagine. Thank you. Wonder filled her voice, and she looked at me with tears of joy in her eyes.
Just that air of, like, just actual awe.
There were 3 people that weren't there 3 people that competed in Chomp?
They all did pretty good. However, when it's not just how well you read it, it's the emotion given. And as far, kicked thing under the desk. As far as all went with the segment where they bring it up here.
The main character is showing his friend a small area he had found in the woods. There's a very nice scene as the sun breaks, and she is experiencing it for the first time.
And because this isn't a speed scroll segment,
you can take as long as you want.
Yes, we had no qualms about like how long it took. It was just however long you felt comfortable doing, which again led this to be more of a subjective take. And she had Miss Fritz Frost had the breathlessness of the awe of seeing the lit landscape for the first time.
Waterfall and the colors and
it really sold it to me, at least personally. Do you have an opposing opinion?
No, I agree with you. So if you disagree with us, just leave the comments.
That leads us into August edition, which was the shortest. It was a very short.
Yes, we had Anger.
I think that was when we had like 3 hours to film the entire show.
Yeah, we showed up and we had to get it done.
I believe Miss Carol was one of the ones that she does the story times and stuff. She was kind of
there was venom in there.
Yeah, she was airing something out.
Lies? Or you would have told us Phoebe was the beast? Tonight, you will prove this power to me. Now go get your family and the others. Tell them we will have dinner together tonight.
Like it was real anger. And then she, as soon as she was done, she dropped it, smiled, and it was like, oh, okay, yeah. Because she came out of the room just smiling. And I was like, isn't this supposed to be like rage? And Matt was like, yeah, just wait. And then I waited, and it was absolutely worth it, and it was fantastic.
I almost got you with rage that episode when I read the unmentionable.
The unmentionables? We are not. No.
He's in the other room. I know. He's not wearing the suit, so he thinks that we don't know.
He's not in the suit. He's not invisible. That was also the fun thing, is standing outside of these rooms with my fingers in my ears, but looking in and watching people. Because some of them just read it off the thing, but some of them stamped their feet or wiggled their bodies, and that was such an interesting experience to watch and not hear. And then to finally hear it and put those together is amazing. Following this is September.
Is that depression?
It was sorrow, not depression.
Okay, yeah, because I had a few people, then I was like, oh, I probably shouldn't ask because they're trying to like work on their mental health right now.
Yeah, we this one was. You say that. However, we got 4 entries.
So in this one, the millennials absolutely.
They slammed it. Once again, Miss Winona joins us, followed by Fritz Frost, and once more. A Amber Pawson with Isaac. I forget his last name. I'm sorry. Isaac Paget.
He had written the book, so he kind of knew what his characters were exactly feeling.
Which, to be fair, hearing his performance was really, really good. But knowing he's the author, I'm like, well, that's sort of a cheat, isn't it?
No, I wanted it. I wanted it.
You wanted it?
Absolutely.
He did a very good job. I thought our one time Amber Pawson took it very well with just how sad it was. Isaac, again, it's his book, so he knows the characters. But there is just something about the hitches in the voice, and just like that always gets me. It's like when someone is starting doing something strongly and it just hitches. It's like, oh, that's that good stuff.
And that was the shortest PowerLines entry.
It was. It was almost like a PowerLines SpeedScroll mix.
Yep. This is a character who is regretting something that they did earlier in the book, and they are confronted literally with the consequences.
I could have stopped it. You don't know. I could have. It's my fault. All my fault. I'm sorry. It's my fault. It wasn't supposed to happen. She turned and ran faster than I thought possible and was gone before I could follow.
I could have stopped it. You don't know. I could have. It's my fault. All my fault. I'm sorry. It's my fault. It wasn't supposed to happen. She turned and ran faster than I thought possible and was gone before I could follow.
The way he writes his characters definitely lends to it, and while I say Amber wins just from a contestant standpoint, Isaac absolutely wins, at least ties with her.
Yes,
because he knows these characters deeply and emotionally. That being said, all of these, you can hear it, everyone gives their all, but sadly a winner has to be decided, which I think there's no prize for PowerLines. That's just a pat on the back. Because that again, it's too subjective.
Well, that leads us to October.
Oktoberfest.
What big holidays in October? Well, you got Halloween. So, what is a very easy emotion to go with? Fear.
What's the easy emotion? Happiness.
Happiness at getting your candy. I agree.
Which again, this one had the absolute most out of all the contestants. Again, October was a huge month.
Yeah, it was also our longest. Episode.
Once again, with recurring Fritz Frost, and I believe Miss Marissa. Following that by Chipmunk, Jacqueline once more, which she had no choice because she had to be there for the last call.
Kidsdom. And last call. She was there for both.
And actually, Jim graces us once again.
Yes.
So he was not a one time, but he did one speed scroll and one power line. So and this one, hearing them again, I thought Chipmunk definitely hit that fear because it was that
3, right?
Yes.
But how? She was just in another room. She went in the opposite direction. How could she have moved so quickly? He came increasingly paranoid, thinking of answers and uncovering none. Voices flooded his mind and his right eye began to twitch. He watched as Helga handed Ajalon a letter, but he couldn't make out a word they said. Soon, they were leaving the room and he had to hide, so he climbed into a servant's chamber. A small closet with a little straw bed. He held his breath as they passed, hoping not to be caught.
To me, the added sound effects kind of helped. There was one...
So Miss Marissa put a little quaver in.
Yes.
Oh, wait, never mind, that was SpeedScroll.
There was one of these where I thought it was good, but the other thing, I almost went for this one because of the whispering, but the other
she ramped up at the end.
She ramped up at the end, and also she kept changing it, the pitch, which to me is that's fear. Fear is not a. It's the whispering was great. However, it was more like a building versus
Chipmunk, who started off and then became fearful as the scene built.
Yes, and that's sort of how fear is. It's a slow ramping, or it's a back and forth, like how it's like from the eye twitch to the climbing into the chamber, the not knowing when. To give them credit, there was someone with an interesting name in this, and they all got it.
Yes, we did give him a little bit of coaching on Ajalon and Dijon.
Ajalon Dijon of Mustard fame.
But I made sure to clear with the author pronunciations before we set anything up.
Every contestant had something in their delivery that, while maybe it wasn't fully fear, it wasn't fear all the way, they had a delivery to it. There was at least one line in it, which they excelled at the delivery. Problem is, I look at consistent delivery
and that's what we're doing.
Yes. And while I said it's like, well, Chipmunk's delivery all over the place, it's still in a consistent fear way where the person's supposed to be in a room and there's no way out. So looking for ways to exit, the mind racing.
They're spying on someone. They're seeing intrigue happen, knowing that they're in danger, and they have to stay absolutely quiet so that they can get out of the situation.
And then it ramps up to the absolute fear as they're realizing they're this close to being caught.
Yes.
Yeah, November PowerLines.
So this one I think may have been the most difficult out of all of them because it was thankfulness, right?
Yes, that was the interesting one.
Yes, and I knew going into it was going to be, but we kind of stuck with the holiday theme, so we kind of had to finish with it.
The good news is there's only 2 contestants.
Yeah.
Again, our classic favorites, Miss Winona and Miss Fritz. Both of them together are consistently just the best.
Even still, it means a lot to me. Not many would have gone to so much effort on any day, let alone today. How did you even know it was my birthday anyway? I don't remember ever telling you or being around when it was spoken of. You've always seemed to know things without being told.
PowerLines was definitely Fritz Frost. Her gratefulness was... It was funny because she won awe. Her gratefulness and her awe are almost spot on for...
I mean, I can say I can kind of see that because if you're awed by something, you're taken aback. You don't really know how to respond, and you can be like that if you're grateful. Especially if someone makes a grand gesture, you have no idea how to respond.
However, it's very clear to point out, listening to both of these, they're very different performances. One is definitely like, because the segment's talking about remembering someone's birthday versus, and it's one of those things where it's different than seeing this vast, beautiful landscape versus
it's worth pointing
you remembered this tiny detail about me, which not a lot of people remember, and you could feel that. You could feel that maybe the character herself didn't remember, didn't consider it something worth remembering.
It is worth pointing out, this is actually, this is still from Thieves Race. This happens the same day as the...
With the exception of August, all of the PowerLines are from, right?
No, we switched.
Did we switched?
Because October was Digital.
It's been a long...
No, the...
I'm mostly here for the last calls.
This isn't Thieves Race. This is the same day as the Wonder and Awe segment, and this is a different. This is a different character reacting to the main character.
Yep.
This is just goes to point out the main character actually cares about people. He may have,
despite being a thief.
Yes, he may be a thief. He may be a criminal, but he actually does care about those who care about him.
Like Batman.
Right, and he makes an effort to show that, whether it's a grand gesture of carving out a path to show a friend who could appreciate a beautiful landscape, or whether it's putting together lace and ribbon to make a little decoration for someone whose birthday it is.
Which, again, according to the person saying it, it's like it wasn't even a detail worth remembering.
Right, they didn't care about the gift, they cared more about, oh my gosh, you remembered.
Which that was something I looked in and read it. All of these were such great reads, and they all bring something different to the table, and I just once again have to say, I know I sound like a broken record, and it might be like, well, it's like, why aren't you saying like specific? It's like, because I can't say any like specifics, because they were all just good, and they all brought something different to the table while staying true to the material, but there has to be an objective winner, or I say objective to ourselves. And it was the ones that brought out these emotions that, here's the thing. So when it comes to awe and fear and gratefulness, specifically, it's like we don't feel a lot of those emotions. Sometimes those are very specific things.
They come up in certain situations, not something you feel like every day.
You're a father. You would have felt these overwhelmingly joyous emotions. But we all feel anger. We all feel sorrow, and those were easy to kind of feel like, okay, yeah, this is fun. But when it came to fear and gratefulness and awe, being fearful or grateful or awe, I mean, November, Thanksgiving.
Do we have any multiple winners in PowerLines? You said Fritz Frost won awe, and she won.
She did win awe and grateful, in my opinion. But that was the thing. Those were both between Miss Winona and... It was actually fun. We started with Miss Winona and Fritz Frost, and we ended. I'm just happy we got this many people to help us.
Wait. Oh, you're doing it. You're actually crying.
No, I'm not.
All right. I'm ready for him. Oh, wait. You hear that?
No way.
I'm gonna go look.
Hey, wait, hang on. Wait,
Don't.
Okay. What'd you do with Cheddar?
About to put my size 11 holiday cheer in your coal factory. Ho, 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 ho. You thought you could keep that hat, and he thought he could keep the sack.
I'm not going down without a fight, fat man. You wanna hold ball one last time?
Soupy.
Yeah. Feels a little heavy for.
Yeah, I was kind of impressed actually. It's
I guess it is just, one whole porpoise.
alright.
Alright.
Well, we should go film the next segment, right?
Yeah, we should.
Okay.
Alright,
Now
so-
turn it off.
Okay. No, you gotta hit the that. Hey guys, you can let me out now. Guys. As always, this segment's brought to you by the Palm Harbor Library. Please support your local libraries, and if you're in the area, come down to this one and have a happy holiday.
So today's last call, we'll be talking about the Lost Apothecary. Let's go ahead and introduce everyone. Of course, I'm Cheddar Allen Poe.
And I'm Stone Cold Jane Austen.
And I am Fritz Frost, aka, for this segment, just Janelle.
So, I understand that we had a very good turnout at Ales and Tales this time.
Yes, at Ales and Tales this round for December 22, we actually had 13 people in attendance, which apparently is massive.
That's a record number.
Yeah, it was my first book club ever, and this was actually the first book I have finished in years, so it was pretty successful, I must say.
It's our 7th.
We had to power through a few.
There was I couldn't actually. I'll get to it in my segment, but I couldn't find a physical copy. I had to do audio copies for a couple of days, which is not too bad. It means I can do.
I did both
at the same time.
Pretty much.
And here we go. My notes.
So this book has some pretty heavy themes. Nothing that we have to actually put a trigger warning on or a content warning on.
It's just regular things like character death, poisoning,
murdery, adultery.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
Everything they show on regular TV anyway. So we
17th century murder.
Yeah. Which is the best century for it, if you ask me.
Yes.
Also, they did the whole Assassin's Creed, present day, back then, intersection.
Like The Witcher as well.
Yes. And with the back and forth that this book had, didn't shockingly bother me.
It didn't take you out of it.
It was just long enough, and it cut off at the perfect times, and everybody at the Ales and Tales did pretty much agree on that fact that you didn't really forget what was going on, and it kept you going. Because especially if you're in for something too long, and then you're like, wait, where am I? No, that part was very well done.
Like the shower, you get too prudy in the.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of like being able to stick to the walls.
In Florida, you can just do that by walking around.
That's true.
I did look up a few reviews. I did not mind the skips as well. A lot of people actually seemed to not like them because they were getting too invested in one timeline or another. I disagree with that just because of the fact that if you understand that this is a multi-timeline book,
it's called building the tension.
Yes.
You want to know what's going on, but you also need to understand how one timeline interacts with the other. So,
man, if they didn't like that, they definitely wouldn't have liked the character jumping in the Lincoln Highway.
Oh.
Or the Assassin's Creed franchise.
Or just Assassin's Creed as a whole.
But
just for clarification, this book takes place in 1791 London.
Yeah.
And today London.
Well, is it today or 2015?
Pretty much. 2020, yeah.
What was the last one? My Heart is a Chainsaw was the far off land of 2013 Ohio.
Right.
Caroline Parswell, an Ohio-born administrator.
She was in Ohio!
Yep.
Full circle!
bringing
So
it
Caroline or Caroline?
Caroline.
Caroline.
C-A-R-O.
I was just with my friend Caroline yesterday, so I was like, wait a minute. So Caroline
oddly enough, in Ohio, everything comes back to Ohio. Like a circle, like the O in the beginning of Ohio.
She's from Ohio, but she's in London.
She is in London, and how she gets there is they were supposed to, her and her husband were supposed to have their 10-year anniversary, which also has a circle in 10. And then she found out last minute that he has been cheating on her
Girlfriend?
Oh no, he did.
And luckily, she decided to. Luckily, she decided to still go on the trip, and she did not expect him to come.
Well, she already paid for the tickets.
They already,
you can't.
yeah.
In this economy, you take that flight.
Or you sell it.
And this was 2020, so this was before.
Well, this is like right when.
Right when.
Right when.
And
before it gets okay, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Topical.
But yeah, I'm proud of her for still going on the trip.
Of course.
And
she goes, was it called mudlarking?
Mudlarking. Which I had never heard of that term before, but yeah, mudlarking. I definitely want to do that. Which it's kind of funny because like being in Florida, like I feel like we're almost always doing that anyways. Just being at the beach, you're always like, maybe my lucky date is today.
Well, that's beach coming.
You always see the weirdos, the guys in the flip flops with the metal detectors.
Yep.
And she was invited by a British gentleman named Bachelor Alf.
That's right. She met Bachelor Alf when she got to London.
Does he eat cats?
He might.
Does he what?
Eat cats.
You know,
Alf.
Alien life form.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
But she meets Bachelor Elf, who invites her mudlarking. She meets him in London. And then she decided to have a beer after that. And
As you do.
As you do. And then.
Was it warm?
Nothing like.
I was just gonna say, I don't know.
Nothing like having an Irish beer at
a nice
English
like
pub.
warm lager. Just goes down really great before mudlarking.
And he also encourages her to visit his daughter, Gaynor. Gaynor, that also makes sense. Gaynor.
Jim Raynor, except Gaynor.
Yep.
Oh, StarCraft reference from that.
Oh,
Yeah,
StarCraft.
because she finds the bottle, and I really liked.
Yes.
Even though through kind of like a big chunk of the book there wasn't inherently an explicit mystery going on, you had the overall arching, because of the jumping timelines, you had the overall mystery of when do these collide and why and how. So
at what point does the bottle get to where it was?
Yeah.
Especially if knowing from when you're back, it's like, oh, this lady used these bottles, but this is a weird location for it to be in. So what is this evidence? Is this a regret? Is what it, you try to go through.
For those who may not know, an apothecary is someone who old-timey would create these tinctures, substances, potions, mixtures, etc. out of herbs and other liquids, and they would put them into these vials, and this was a vial that was found.
This was one of the vials, and
generally, if you find a vial anywhere, don't drink anything in it.
That's true.
No.
Okay, but I
That's
saw
very true.
one where it was like it had come up from like a Greek shipwreck, and it had the olives in it from like the 1500.
We didn't know if the olives started off black, but they're black now.
Yeah, well, the guy opened it, and it comes out just.
Delicious.
Oh yeah.
Well, luckily this one was
Olive
empty when she
sludge.
found it. And that's actually, I think, how she found it as well, is because the water going over the top, because it was open, was making a weird noise, and she was like, well, what's that? And that's something that I did take away from the book, because I did ask people at the end of Ales and Tales, was there something that you took away from this book that you might think of later in your life that maybe has
Don't
impacted
cheat on
you?
your significant other.
That, and also looking for, sometimes when you're not sure what you're looking for, is looking for the inconsistencies. And that's like, I thought was a really cool.
I'm not gonna lie, also saying you don't know what you're looking for can go a long way in a book about poisoning.
That's true.
You don't know what you're looking for until you find maybe some nightshade in a bottle.
Yeah.
It also does turn out that the person who was brewing these tinctures and these poisons used to be a healer.
Mm-hmm.
And
her mother was a healer.
Yeah, and she turned her art into poisoning.
She became a harmer.
She became a healer through harm or something like that.
I'm just gonna call her a harmer.
Yeah.
A harmacist. Come on.
Harmacist. I like that.
All right.
And I like how they finally, like, when, because like as like the two storylines are going on that do mesh up together,
like Carolyn's part was mostly like building up to when she found it, but like the real story was like how it even ended up there. So some of the people in the book club were kind of like, well, Carolyn's part wasn't really that exciting. She didn't really do it for me. And I kind of got that just because like the parts with Nella and everybody, like that whole back then was so fascinating. I wish we got more of that.
Right. See,
but we needed Carolyn
that was actually, that's why I gave points to persuasion. The book was boring as sin. But it was set in an interesting time with people that it was interesting to see. And yes, the different, looking at the two, it's like, well, if you look at the modern one, it's like, yeah, okay, it's just them dealing with the fallout of this affair and then talking and then it comes back. So I can understand that situation, but
comparatively to a murderous apothecary and like.
But you can think about it like the way the story started was very much like a lot of older stories did, where they started in the middle or the end, and it's like, and then it comes back and you start again. It's the whole this ended up here, but how did it end up here?
Right.
You don't just find a car at the bottom of a lake and go, oh well.
Cool car. Yes. So the apothecary, she doesn't murder at will. In fact, she has a bit of a code too.
She has ethics.
Yes.
Which is a weird line to draw when you're making poisons.
Well, in this case, it seems to make sense because this is 1700s England, where women do not necessarily have much in the way of legal power.
Is this Jack the Ripper time, or is this before Jack the Ripper? Or after? I forget when Jack the Ripper was around.
It was very much have babies and die time though.
Well, then that's just every time before the 2000s.
That's true.
London being more depressing than the average high school.
Than modern Jack.
Have babies die. We're probably never gonna watch all this set up.
So this is a lot pre. This is pre. Jack the Ripper was 1888.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
So this is much.
Oh, she was before her time.
Yeah. Also, fun fact: we love to point out timelines. Yeah, before the Civil War.
After the Civil War.
After the Civil War.
Yeah.
Fun fact: 1888 was only about less than 200 years ago.
So their ethics was that you could not make an order for poison and it be used against another woman. It had to be against a man who did you wrong.
Yes.
Which makes sense.
Right.
Which is something that we brought up in our discussion as well, because I had the book where it had questions at the end for a book discussion, and one of the questions had to do with now knowing how she started, like why she started harming only men. Does it make it less bad in your eyes? Do you still think she's bad? And it is like
it's a weirard question.
Yeah, and it's like I get it, like because also
we enjoy gray areas.
Yeah, because a big part of the whole like, oh, I'm righteous because I'm only killing men that are doing bad things. How do you know those women aren't lying? Because that's not like today's day and age where you could go on somebody's Facebook.
Did have some method of accountability where the person who made the order had to have their name written down.
Oh, that's right.
So there was a little bit of accountability, but then again, you are taking the person on their word.
But you're also assuming her name is Jerry Mainabeth.
There's so many assumptions.
I should have said like Sherry Jane.
And as it turns out, not only men are harmed by her poisons.
Yeah.
And
you are not immune to poison, women.
Yeah. Well, and
that sounds bad.
How she started this whole thing too, which I'd be important to mention, is she was with somebody that they became pregnant. They were looking forward to getting married. Turns out that this guy, this is kind of how I explained the book to my fiance as well. I was like telling him as if it was an episode of Real Housewives. I was like, this guy that she's with, having his baby, he's like, my sister is pregnant. She cannot be pregnant out of wedlock. She doesn't want the kid. I believe that's what happened, right? And she's like, I will help her and we will take care of this.
Drops an herb.
Yep, draw some herbs up. Meanwhile, that guy did not have a sister, or at least a pregnant one, and gave her that so that she would lose the baby because he had a whole other family.
Mm-hmm. Very where the crawdads sing-ish.
Crawdads.
And that's where it all started.
The book.
No, I know that.
There's a very similar situation that occurs.
Yeah. And then
she just went on a murder spree from there.
Yep.
And not to make this a weird thing. It's just like, you know what? Maybe not all men, but not in that weird way.
And she did feel
But also,
a lot of
I
guilt,
understand.
too.
I understand being scorned. I mean, I say I understand.
Yeah.
I don't have firsthand experience being scorned on that level and having that terribleness happen to you. And I can understand why that would lead someone to do this for other people. But like you said, a lot of it's
Once
like
you start, how are you
yeah.
going to be able to stop?
you can't.
And that's the thing, isn't it at the end, they're not
You're just hoping that
actually-
everyone else with you just doesn't.
Yeah.
They're not. She doesn't actually feel any happier. She doesn't actually think that she's done anything even better. She doesn't think that she's actually made the world a better place in the end. And I don't
Right.
think
She started devoting her life to this, and then basically became just not emotionless necessarily, but just this almost on instinct, just doing this when someone asked.
Yeah.
And it just kind of became her lifestyle before she realized it was becoming her lifestyle. And
how she was dealing with like her whatever sickness she ended up.
we should say
She didn't
her-
really know what illness she was getting towards the end of the book and stuff, but she would periodically talk about how like her hands are tensing up and how like now her skull is getting more tense and everything, and she was like, contemplating,
right.
is this what is happening to me because I've done all these things?
And her name, for the record, is
Nella
Clavenger.
Yeah.
Clavenger or Clavenger.
And Eliza was a little girl.
Eliza Fanning, which sounds like an actual I think it sounds like an actress. Dakota Fanning.
Yes, there we
it's
go.
like Dakota Fanning. And then a London tourist, Caroline Parswell, which why would you go to London? I know we just talked about that whole. Actually,
For the clotted cream and warm beer.
Actually, me and Matt did actually talk about, like, there's one place we want to go in London, and it's like the
Oh, yes.
the pie and eel shop.
Yes,
I'm surprised you didn't mention that they also do have a garden full of poisonous
Yes,
plants.
they do.
Well,
They
I
do.
mean, where else you get
the Garden of Death.
Yep.
Where do you get your ingredients? I don't know. My dealer won't tell me.
Yeah.
So this all leads me to a question that I have for you that I've come up with, and I sort of teased with you so it wouldn't get out too much. Do you think the poison stands for anything in the book as a literary device?
Scorn.
I guess yeah. It's almost like too, like it's just her never being able to let go of the past. She's constantly reminding herself she's now involved other people into it.
Not only
and
is
it's
she
like
not-
it holds her back.
I gotta stop talking over you. I apologize.
That's okay.
Not and asking that, it's like, not only is it not, like you said, not letting go, it's adding to this pile of
Oh my
bodies.
god, yeah.
And it's just like,
And
yeah.
What is it that she gets in the end?
Dead.
Right, but because
Right. Spoilers, God.
but because
Is it the culmination of?
it's the vapors.
Okay, and that's what I wasn't exactly
She basically
super
Mad
sure
Hatter
on,
diseased
but I was
herself.
like,
Well, yeah,
makes
the
sense.
Mad Hatters is because of the mercury and the hatting materials,
Right.
but in this case, apothecaries again. If you
She ain't got no windows.
Yep, no windows, and
No
you're basically
ventilation.
boiling things, you're distilling things, so that means vapors going in the air from all your different concoctions.
Remember,
Just bring
people,
that
if you're
in.
gonna concoct poisons, you need a hood fan.
Yes.
Yes.
And a mask.
And it's actually, so it was getting into her, and it was killing her from the inside.
We should
Yeah.
we should say we don't condone.
We do not
condone.
condone. I almost said
The
cone.
Palm Harbor Library and Last Call does not condone poison people. Though
Especially
Nuggets
since
of
science is a
Kisdom
lot
might-
better nowadays. You will get caught.
Nuggets of Kisdom does not condone it either. No one does.
Well, the Fast Talking Dolphin might.
But
Yeah.
he's dead now.
But not because of poison.
Not because of poisons.
It's not because Dolly the dolphin got to him, you know.
It's-
Lover scorned. Anyways.
quantity of non-poisons needed to kill.
So.
AKA, how much bleach should you drink?
Oh man. Oh, Carolyn. Like, this is. I watched a lot of daytime judge shows, and that, like, I've learned.
Gary.
We're not saying the real name, so
No.
we don't get copyright strikes.
So I know that documentation is everything. Like, how can I prove that this happened? Documentation. Girl, I know. So she gets okay, Carolyn, we're talking about the part now where she's gone to the apothecary, she's found it, she's taken pictures, and I wish we had more time in the apothecary. Like, her phone battery, it was 2020. You could have had a way better phone battery at that
Or,
point.
I mean, yeah, 2020 Pokemon Go and all that. Like, I mean, it
Hello.
wasn't that long after Pokemon Go. The extra battery.
I actually got my phone in 2020,
I've been
and it
using-
still has a very good battery.
I've been using my phone all morning, and I'm still on 81%.
She done
Girl.
messed up on that.
You know what happened? She probably had her Wi-Fi on the whole
Oh,
time.
my
Wi-Fi,
God.
Bluetooth, location.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
She
Anytime I
didn't
look
put
at
it on airplane mode.
every time I look at
NFC.
someone's phone, I'm like, turn all of this off, you're not using it.
Brightness all the way up.
But that's the thing we talk about, like, so the smart thing, she did kind of the smart thing about having the book, because then it ensures, like, why, well, what if they talked? It's like, well, if they did, their name, or at least someone's name, their penmanship, could be led back. But leaving, as the apothecary, you know what you need. Why are you making a list?
Okay, could you just put like a skin poison on the outside of the bottle when you give it to them?
So, well, and also too, so Carolyn's taking pictures of the apothecary's book, but then Carolyn is writing down all this stuff, and that's what like gets her in trouble later. And it's like, ladies,
she's literally writing her own.
Yeah.
As someone who is a fan fiction author, and in those circles, a lot of authors actually
Wears that badge proudly.
Yes, I do. a lot of authors actually end up kind of having weird search histories.
Trickle down, yeah.
Yeah, as they're trying to get to realism, it's like, oh, how do I make this? How many people would be hurt if this?
See,
what would happen here if this building fell? What would happen if you did this?
Right, it's like sometimes, here's the thing, sometimes you just want to look something up because you're curious and you're like, this is probably putting me on some sort of FBI watch list.
If I'm not on a list by now, then they deserve it.
It's like, listen, you hear about like the rice cooker bomb, you're like, okay, but how does that work? And then it just turns, exactly.
Exactly.
But
you're just curious.
Yes, and it's just.
But meanwhile, she's got a dumb husband. Carolyn.
Well, it's 1700s.
Well, no, Carolyn.
Oh, sorry, Carolyn. Sorry, yes, Carolyn has a dumb.
Oh
that's
my
right,
God.
with her. Yeah.
Plenty of dumbness to go around.
Oh
Hey,
my God.
he cheated on her. Then
Tried
went on
to
the trip
guilt
with
her.
talked to her, tried to guilt her. It's like, my man, my guy.
So she goes on the trip without him. He spends like $3,000 to get a flight over there, which, like, bro.
Man, she already had the tickets. Just hitch her right next to her.
He shows up unannounced and then
And just ruins her vacation.
Almost gets her put in jail
because he drinks the poison.
He drinks the eucalyptus oil.
Yeah.
Because
and he's not a koala, guys.
No. He's like, oh, do you have any NyQuil? And she's like, no. And I did like how in the book Sarah did put like, I'm not gonna, like, essentially saying like, I'm not gonna bring like my whole medicine cabinet with me. And like, you're also not going to a third world country. Well, you can go to the pharmacy.
When they stop boiling all their food.
You know. So when like he goes and looks at the eucalyptus oil, like he couldn't have had this plan, so he thought in the moment, oh, this is a way that I can put myself in harm so that she will pity me to then come back to me. So he drinks some of the eucalyptus oil, starts feeling sick and all this stuff.
The M and
ruins her time with Gaither when they're trying to figure out stuff. And like, I'm like, oh. For Sarah too, the author, to put that in the book, I'm like, what happened with her? Because for you to think about how somebody would do that to somebody else, you would only think about that if that's happened to you. Because that's like...
I will say, like, eucalyptus oil is in some brands of cough drops, so I won't say the brand, but they are very common.
But
but they're in cough drops, and it's like a tiny bit, just to give it a little bit of extra...
But you're supposed to, like, any essential oil, 9 times out of 10, you're not supposed to ingest.
But
But he did it on purpose.
130-year-old eucalyptus oil is probably not good.
He knew!
And on top of that, he's not really a risk taker to begin with, so this whole thing is out of character.
Well, you say he's not a risk taker, but he cheated on us.
Yeah.
How dare she seduce me?
I called HR. And I feel like we've kind of been talking about this book in such a perfect way that if somebody were to read this book, they'd be like, wow, they did miss a lot of because we've been so all over the place. So
that's just every show.
That's every last
The first 2 or 3 episodes, I tried to have structure.
We had a plan.
And I would be like, guys, we should talk about this. Guys, now I'm just like, no.
Yeah. And
by the way, we're gonna spoil I mean, you should know by now. This is the last episode of the year.
We spoiled Kingdom of Back in the first 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't think we should mention how the storylines came together.
Right. No, you should absolutely find that.
You should still read the book. And I really liked that it was a pretty easy read as well, especially for Sarah's first debut. She has a new book coming out in March. And even some of the people that didn't really like this book were still interested enough to want to read her second book that's coming out. And I think it's just...
She got one up on Hard as a Chainsaw.
Oh! And I think it mostly was because Caroline... And it's like... I really liked Caroline's part. But yeah, when you do compare it to Nella and Eliza's whole situation, like...
that was just so. I think Carolyn would have been more interesting if we did get more of the apothecary out of her.
Right. If we got like some of the like before she turned.
Yeah,
into
not a
this.
10-minute. Her.
I'm a
trying to
good
take
guy.
pictures. Yeah, and like if we got more.
And that's the thing. It's like what happened to her was terrible. Absolutely terrible. What happened to everyone she knows, like it's bad. But we don't know anything about her other than okay, this happened to her. That's bad.
She just kind of like left it.
But then she was like, you know who deserves to suffer for this forever now? Which again, mostly, I would at least be willing to put money. It's like in this time frame, as far as guys go. Normally, if you're getting poisoned, you deserve it. I'm not gonna lie.
And there's so many other things to take you out too. So the fact that women were resorting to this, it's like you're lucky if you live past 35.
It's one of those why mess with the person who deals with your food. Really.
Oh
yeah.
I mean, because it looked like the breakfast was the main target. For
Oh
a lot
my
of these.
god.
Yeah, it's always breakfast.
Yeah, the eggs.
Breakfast or the fish course.
Eliza, the little
Because
girl.
they're so pungent that you can't.
That's true.
Yeah, well, also in a lot of the fishes, they have the oils and the oil solubles taken.
I will say, we might need to change the battery in like 4 minutes, though I feel like we're already kind of winding down.
Yeah. Ask away.
Okay.
No, I was gonna point out like we talked about this wasn't a very like if you would like to use your library card to either come here or if you have the Libby app, not sponsored. The audiobook of this is only 10 hours long.
Yeah, and the
So-
audiobook, because I read some of the book and listened to some of it. The audiobook is really great because it's different people reading it. You get different voices. You get some accents going on in there. And but with the physical book though, you do get recipes. You do get a lot more out of it. And one lady, she had a I had the soft cover. A lady had a hardcover. Penner lives in St. Petersburg, which, like, what?
Go harass? No.
No,
Don't,
not.
I know.
We do not condone
God.
harassing or
No, no, that's.
drugging
Leave her alone.
people.
She'll poison you. She'll get
she
you.
knows things.
She knows. Yeah, it's like.
Check her search history.
Yeah.
Also, if you listen to it at 1.25 speed, it's only an 8-hour listen.
That's I sped mine up a little bit.
I had to do that
Yeah.
on the one I read because I was just like, all right, let's go.
Yeah. And but yeah, so because mine only said in the softcover, it said she lives in Florida, and then the other ladies was like St. Pete, and I didn't know that until our day of the book.
Now, if you read the
reading.
digital one, it gets even more specific, and it says the street.
I could have been in the Walmart. I could have been in the Walmart next to her.
You could.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could have been in the Po Folks next to the Sam's
She
Club.
could have been the one I backed into yesterday. No, I'm kidding.
Oh,
I was
do
here.
you want us to cut that?
I was here. Some of the people as well that were at the book club, they had mentioned that they read this book while on a cruise.
Oh.
So if you need a good book for a cruise
Yeah.
experience, it is
Definitely
a very
not persuasion.
yeah.
Not
Oh
persuasion.
golly,
No.
it is a very
We will never stop
easy
ripping
read,
on that book.
which is good
It is. It's not. It's very good.
and it's fun.
The accents aren't terrible.
No, yeah, in the audio version.
Yep.
Yeah.
I guess my last question is: Do you
They're
think
easily understandable.
Do you think that this was a power fantasy, or do you think this was a cautionary tale?
Ooh. Maybe a mix of both.
I would
'Cause I
say
mean, like Caroline's ending was very rewarding for her, and same with Eliza's. But poor Nella,
I was gonna say that was. Yeah.
I would go on the
she
side
messed
of.
up and she just kept running with it.
Yeah, it was
She
the
went hard.
longest. Took forever to actually fall. But it was just like watching someone stumbling down the stairs but not face planting till the very end. And then they do it with a smile.
You know, the funny thing is when I mentioned to your mom in passing that we were going to be covering this, she's like, "You guys are doing a women's book?"
As we've read My Heart is a Chainsaw, Persuasion, Kingdom of Back. It's like most of our books have actually been very female-centric.
And I actually don't have the physical book with me right now because I already let her borrow it starting yesterday, and she's already started reading it.
And I think I go on the side more of cautionary tale as well because like we said, the modern one has kind of a happy ending, but
It's still cautionary too, of
Yeah.
like, you gotta
Poison comes
watch
back and
out
bites
for other people around you.
Yeah.
You gotta protect yourself,
Yeah.
and you
Always
gotta
have a
know
good
how
alibi.
to pick it up and move on. You know?
But don't switch to poison murder.
Yeah.
And if you're going to, don't have a bunch of lists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and that's the thing too. It's like I wish we had more time with the actual physical apothecary, because
Right.
it's like she was in there for
I want to
so
know her
short.
process more. I want to know
Yeah.
what she was, how she was like before.
Or even too, just like if we had the more of an open ending of that, like she was gonna go, that Caroline was gonna go further with telling the story. Because I think that's where I kind of like, I'm like, because she does kind of end that as well, which I don't want to expose too much if you read it. But like I wanted to think that more was at least gonna happen.
Okay.
You know?
And I think that's
But it was really good.
a good place to wrap up this
All right.
segment of
Alright.
Last
Sarah,
Call.
if you ever want to come to the Palm Harbor Library, we're going to
We'd love to
formally
have you.
invite you right
oh,
now.
absolutely. Please.
I sent your information to Mary Jane.
We're like right down the road.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
Yeah. And she has her new book coming out in March. Thank you for listening to my segment.
Alright, guys. I think we got it.
Alright.
Good episode.
No, that was pretty fun.
Always. It's always a pleasure having you.
Yeah, I mean, it helps my day live, laugh, love, you know? All right, thank you.
Bye.